The Methodist preacher Charles Allen likes to tell the story of a member of his church who had come to see him for counseling. This member was a CEO of a large corporation, was extremely wealthy, had everything, every material possession a person's heart could desire, and by those measures should have been a very happy person, but he wasn't. He was worried, he was anxious, he was tense, he was getting sick all the time. He was in and out of doctors' offices. In fact, it was one of his doctors who recommended that perhaps he seek counseling from his pastor. So he come to Dr. Allen seeking help, and he shared his problems with his pastor, and that's when Dr. Allen wrote a prescription for him, unlike any prescription this wealthy CEO had ever gotten in his life. And it was this, that he pray the 23rd Psalm 5 times a day, that he say it upon wakening in the morning, that he say it at breakfast, they say it again at lunch, they say it again at supper time, and then a fifth and final time at bedtime, that he do this 5 times a day, every day, for 7 days, and then come back and see him. Well, this type A, driven, goal-oriented CEO thought that was the stupidest thing he'd ever heard in his life. He said, look, can I just get up in the morning and say it 5 times right then and there, just get it over with, like a set of push-ups or something? Dr. Allen said no, and he gave us instructions again. He said, I want you to say it prayerfully, carefully, each time. Let the words soak into your very being like gravy into a biscuit. Well, the man agreed to give it a try. What did he have to lose? And he did that for the following week. And it changed his life. It made him different. It became for him not just a thing for 1 week, but a way of life. And from that day forward, it began to help him face each new day with confidence and courage. I wonder what might happen for you and for me if we were to take this strong medicine 5 times a day, 7 days, this week that is ahead of us. What have we got to lose? Why don't we begin right now? The Lord is my shepherd, my shepherd. Do you know that out of the 150 Psalms in the Bible, there's so many references to shepherd, but this is the only Psalm that makes it that personal, the only Psalm that says, my shepherd. Others might say our shepherd or the shepherd or good shepherd or like a shepherd, but Psalm 23 says, the Lord is mine, my shepherd. That gets personal. It made me think of my daughter Sarah's journal that she kept when she was just learning how to write. The teacher required all the students upon arrival to class each morning to make an entry into the journal, whether it was just a sentence, 2 sentences, 3, something simple every day. At the end of the year, Sarah brought that little journal home to me, and I was so touched as I read almost every page, because almost every page said, my mommy's going to pick me up after school. My mommy's going to bring me to the park. My mommy is making cupcakes today. My mommy this and that. And it almost moved me to tears how true that is. I'm hers, and she is mine. And so it is with our heavenly parent. That's why we can say, the Lord is mine. As St. Augustine wrote, God loves each one of us as if there were but one of us to love. Each one of us, as if we were the only one, and yet all of us in this extraordinary way. That's why we say, my shepherd. I shall not want. Oh, but we are people who are always wanting something, aren't we? We are people who are always just one more purchase away from true happiness, and yet all the while that something is already ours. It is in us and within us and all around us. As Reinhold Niebuhr once wrote, we are the people who have prayed for all kinds of things so that we might enjoy life, but God has given us life so that we might enjoy all things. That's why someone once translated this verse, the Lord is my shepherd. What more do I want? He makes me lie down in green pastures. Now listen to this, all you type A, goal-driven people who work 12 hours a day, who live in the fast lane, who eat fast food, who are wired and tired and hurried and worried. He's going to make you lie down. It's a command. He makes us rest. I remember my son Luke. He was born 3 weeks before his due date, and I've been running after him ever since. I can't keep up with this kid. Even as a child, he was always on the go. Now he has only 2 settings, 100 miles an hour and crash. And I remember when he was a baby how hard it was to put him down for a nap, how his little legs were just so busy all the time. And there were times when all I could do is just simply, gently put my hands on his little legs to still them. And within 2 seconds, conk, it'd be out like a light. So it is with us. Sometimes we must be made to slow down, to rest. You know, if the Lord God Almighty, who created the world in 6 days, needed to rest on that 7th day, how much more do we mere mortals, his children, need to rest as well? Do you know that's what the word Sabbath means? In Hebrew, Shabbat. It means literally rested. And so he makes us rest. He leads me like a shepherd leads his flock, not like a cowboy drives the cattle, although so many of us live our lives that way. I know I have been driven. But what might it be like if we were to live not as if we're being driven with something always nipping at our heels, but rather drawn by one who wants to show us the way, one who leads me beside the still waters. Still, I can't help but think of the story of Mary and Martha. Remember that story about these two? Jesus had come to see them, and Martha was busy, her little legs going away as she ran back and forth from the kitchen serving the disciples, busy, driven, while Mary sat at Jesus' feet, listening and learning and loving him still, drawn to him. And Jesus said to Martha, Mary has chosen the good portion. It won't be taken from her. So be still and know. He restoreth my soul. Our bodies, I mean by that, this flesh, these bones, our bodies may age and break and wear and tear. They're not made to last forever. There will come a point at which our bodies will not be restored. Not so with our souls, our irreducible, indestructible souls, which have the capacity to keep on growing deeper, larger, stronger, better, wiser. Understand that this is why the Bible can make the extravagant, extraordinary claims that it makes about how God is going to protect us and defend us, how when you walk through the fire, it will not consume you, walk through the flood, it will not overwhelm you, these extraordinary claims, because the Bible is not talking about our flesh and bones. It's talking about the essence of who we most truly, deeply are, our true selves, our souls. This is why Paul would write to the Corinthians, our outer nature may be wasting away, our inner nature grows stronger every day, he says. Why? Because he restoreth my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Oh, and what is the name of that path? That hard, narrow way that leads to life? What is the name of that way? It is none other than the way of love. It was Jesus' dying wish. It was his new commandment he gave on the last night of his life. It was that great commandment that we love one another as he first loved us. Love. God knows we've tried every other way, haven't we? We've tried personal wealth, social status, political power, military might, possessions, all dead ends. They'll all, in the end, dump you in a ditch and leave you there. Not the way of love. Follow me, Jesus says. Trust me on this path of righteousness, his way of love. We do have to trust him because this thing called love looks like such a soft, vulnerable thing. Do not be deceived. It is the strongest thing in the world, stronger even than death itself. That's why we can say, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. And that's what has the power to make all the difference in our lives. I've made the difference in that CEO's life when we don't know what the future holds. Listen, friends, we don't even know what's going to happen when we walk out those doors after church today. We don't know what the future holds, but we know the one who holds the future, who holds us. Even now, whether you know it or believe it or not, you can trust it, who carries us through. Key word there, through the dark valley. We may go to many dark valleys in the course of our lives, but we're not staying there. Through the dark valley to the bright light of a new day, and through it all, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me because they defend me, guard me, protect me, save me, my shield and defender. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. What in the world can this verse possibly mean except that there can be abundance in the midst of adversity? There can be, for those who have eyes to see it, abundance in the midst of adversity. Good grief, in New Orleans, haven't we seen this again and again? I mean, we're the people who've lived through Katrina and Ida and tornadoes and COVID. In the midst of extreme adversity, the light still shines, mountains still move, the stone is still rolled away, and there's a table set for us in the presence of our enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. And we don't do this now, but centuries ago, that's what they did with kings and queens. It meant you were royal, you were chosen, you were special, you were set apart, your life has ultimate meaning and purpose. Do you believe this about yourself? I do. Take this with you today so that you will have it on some awful day down the road when you're feeling like your life is just a waste of space, that you're nothing more than just a bundle of multiplying cells and genes and chromosomes. No, this is the truest thing I know. Your true identity as a beloved son, a beloved daughter, princes and princesses of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And my cup runneth over. It has often been said that there are two kinds of people in this world. There are those who say, oh, that cup is half empty. And there are those who say, no, that cup is half full. And then there's us, the third kind. We're the ones who say, that cup runneth over. Well, we are the people who have seen how 5 loaves and 2 fish can feed a multitude of people with 12 baskets of leftovers. We have seen this again and again. More than enough for us all. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Well, we know he leads us and we know he calls us to follow him, but is this saying he follows us too? This the same one who is before us and beside us and within us, also behind us? Tony Campolo likes to tell a story about when he was in the 1st grade. And he was so embarrassed because his mother always walked him to school, made him hold her hand like he was a big baby. And he was so ashamed of that in front of all his friends and begged her, please let me walk to school by myself like a big boy. Finally, reluctantly, she allowed her to do it. Many years later, as an adult, Tony was bragging about that with his sisters, about how independent he'd been as a child and how even as a 1st grader, he'd walk to school all by himself. And his sisters fell on the floor laughing. They said, Tony, don't you know, Mom followed you. She followed you every day. So it is with us. The one who is before us and the one who is within us and the one who is beside us has got your back as well, surely, all the days of your life. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Oh, I love that word, forever. It means Easter. It means the end is not the end, but a door to something more, to a future we can trust. The great American poet Robert Frost once said, if I had to sum up everything I've ever learned about life in 3 words, those 3 words would be, it goes on. Yes, it goes on and on and on, even beyond the grave, forever. I'm telling you all this because I suspect some of you might be struggling. Some of you might be worried and anxious about tomorrow, afraid. So I'm writing this prescription for you, perhaps unlike any prescription you've ever had before. It's the 23rd Psalm, 5 times a day, every day for 1 week. Try it. What have you got to lose? And see if it doesn't make a difference in how you feel about yourself and how you face tomorrow. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.